Dun, 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 dun.
Hi, my name is Jacob Ludwig. I am a student at Montgomery College and an amateur mycologist, which means that I study mushrooms. Here you can see me engaging with some of the local fungi. Several months ago, I stumbled across a new passion cultivating gourmet and medicinal mushrooms. It all started on a brisk mid October evening when I stumbled across something I had forgotten about a small piece of psilocybin containing mushroom infused chocolate wrapped in gold foil. At the time, I felt I was lacking direction in life until I ate that piece of chocolate and began looking through YouTube for cat videos. Only then did I stumble across a 2011 TED Talk by mycologist Paul Stamets, who spoke not just about his amazing research with psilocybin, the compound in psychedelic mushrooms which can induce vivid hallucinations, but also about his research with medicinal fungi. This sparked a curiosity in me to learn more about how mushrooms produce some of the most potent medicinal compounds and have been utilized by a variety of cultures through traditional forms of medicine for centuries. For example, here was a wild reishi mushroom that I found growing just above the curb at my friend's house. Reishi, also known as lingxi mushrooms, have been used in traditional Japanese and Chinese medicine for over 5,000 years. After reading Terence McKenna's book, Food of the Gods, I decided that if I wanted to learn more about the traditional use of plant and fungal medicines, I would need to study anthropology, as well as chemistry and biology. So I signed up for Anthropology 201 at Montgomery College. If you were walking around DC this summer, you might have seen the colorful Initiative 81 posters like this one calling for the district attorney to cease prosecution of offenses related to the cultivation, distribution, and use of psychedelic plants and fungi. Like the legalization of recreational cannabis in 2014, this new referendum is indicative of a cultural movement that is sporulating across the nation and has recently germinated within our own community. The campaign was spearheaded by the DC branch of the Decriminalize Nature organization, which is a largely volunteer run nationwide organization aiming to take down the systemically racist and xenophobic laws in the United States, prohibiting the cultivation and use of psychedelic plants and fungi. Entheogens are naturally occurring psychoactive molecules found in a variety of plants and fungi. And there is a long, rich history of the use of these plants and fungi throughout a variety of extant and non extant cultures, specifically in Central and South America. Traditionally, entheogenic plants and fungi may be used by these cultures to heal physical, psychological, emotional, or spiritual ailments. In an interview with Riley Sloan of the Decriminalize Nature DC organization, I learned that the movement was brought to DC by a single mother who had battled postpartum depression after the birth of her most recent child and had found relief from her depression and anxiety through the use and cultivation of psilocybin mushrooms. In this interview, I asked Riley what the effects of the coronavirus pandemic and the move to remote campaigning had been on the movement behind I-81. Riley mentioned that the lockdowns, which came in March, presented significant challenges for the campaign in terms of spreading accurate information on their mission and on entheogenic plants and fungi. However, they persevered by using a variety of social media and other virtual platforms, education panels, virtual silent auctions, and phone banking to achieve a near 75% approval rating for the initiative. I was surprised to learn that there was a very large culture of use of psilocybin mushrooms in DC, as I've lived here my whole life and felt when I was growing up that this city had a very pretentious and strict attitude. This is likely because I was raised by an older Jewish couple who, through no fault of their own, had passed on to me a fraction of their uncultured views on members and areas of our community of low social status. For example, I was told to avoid Adams Morgan, Columbia Heights, 14th Street, and 8th Street, likely because these areas were statistically higher in crime rates when my parents first moved to the area. However, when I grew older and began defying my parents, as many American teenagers do in a quasi rite of passage, I found these to be some of the most vividly alive parts of my community, full of a diverse range of cultural influences. I chose to approach this research project through the lens of my new horticultural passion and interviewed several of the members of my community to learn about their thoughts, opinions, and experiences. And through our ethnographic map, I found that food insecurity was a growing concern in our community. By chance, I happen to live in one of the wealthier areas, so I had not considered this before. While food insecurity is not currently one of the major concerns in my area of DC, it is uniquely suited to handle this problem if it should become a concern again, as it was in the 1940s. In my research, I learned that one of the community gardens in my neighborhood was established as a victory garden, which were used by many of the Allied nations in the Second World War, including the US, England, and Australia. And the one near my house was used up until the 1950s to provide fresh produce to a large portion of the community. One main driving factor behind Initiative 81 was a desire for members of the community to grow their own psychedelic medicine, much like my desire to cultivate my own medicinal, non psychoactive mushrooms. This desire reflects a new culture that is spreading rapidly across the nation. Cities on the West Coast like Portland, Santa Cruz, and even as far east as Denver were among the first communities to embrace this new culture surrounding the legalization and use of psychedelic medicines. This research project has made me begin thinking more about the ways I could use the mushrooms I cultivate to help my community. I've been considering mycoremediation as a sustainable and eco friendly soil remediation method, along with other sustainable uses for mushrooms. The multitude of restaurants in the District of Columbia, for example, would be a great place to start. By donating fresh mushrooms to restaurants, which have been hit hard by the coronavirus pandemic, they could cut costs and provide their customers with organically grown, nutritious, and locally sourced gourmet mushrooms. Hello, it's me again, Jacob. Thank you for listening to my digital story, and I would like to take this time to thank my professor, Amy Caratini, for being a really great help this semester, for inspiring me, and for helping to form my passions into a very potential career. Thank you.